Welcome to Help, I Have Kids. I'm your host, Pam Marshall, a mom of 5 and a pediatric occupational therapist with over 35 years experience. This podcast is designed to equip you with practical tools, insights from experts, and real life stories. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of your child's care team. Each week, you'll hear from pediatric experts and fellow moms like you that will help build your confidence. They'll offer clarity and empower you to make informed decisions that work for your whole family. Hi, I'm Pam. Welcome to Help, I Have Kids podcast. Today, episode 4, we're gearing up for a great school year with our guest, Heather Whitis. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you.
We're continuing our back to school series, and today our focus is getting your kids emotionally ready for the school year. From making friends to handling anxiety, easing those transitions, we've got you covered. I'm so excited to talk to Heather today. She is an expert mental health therapist and has always specialized in children, and her degree is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Heather, tell us a little about yourself.
Okay. As Pam said, I'm Heather Whitis. I've been a marriage and family therapist specializing in pediatrics for over 21 years. I'm a mom to Lily and Grace, who is an amazing 16-year-old teenage girl, wife to Jason. We're a very busy family. I love working with children. I feel like they have so much hope and promise. I feel like they need positive adults in their lives, and I'm happy to be that sunshine for them, to be that person they can walk alongside through those hard things that they experience in their life.
I love that you love to work with children too. It's the best. So, Heather, what's the most encouraging piece of advice someone has shared with you?
Okay. My mom has been my biggest example of how to be a mom. If I could be a quarter of the person that I think she is, I think I'm doing fabulously.
Wow, that really says a lot for you to cherish your mom like that. So what is something she shared with you?
When I got married, my mom told me the biggest thing I could do in life was to be intentional, so that every moment that I experience, I really focus and hone in on just enjoying every moment. Because we hear people say so many times, oh, my wedding day was a blur. I don't remember anything. Or, oh my gosh, all these years have flown by, and how did we get here? And so I really try to just focus in and just really enjoy every moment. And she said when it came to parenting, to not, oh, I can't wait until this phase is over and we can do this. Or I can't wait until we get to this point. Oh, it's so sad that this is over. She told me just to enjoy every single moment and find the best parts of each phase, because every phase has something wonderful to experience.
That is fantastic advice, because it does go whoosh so fast, doesn't it? You've got a 16-year-old and you've got graduation around the corner, and then, wow, then she's off.
Right.
It happens quick. So, Heather, the first day of school, lots of moms begin to think about the first day of school and how can they prepare their children. There's a roller coaster of excitement, usually excitement for the new year, but also can be some fear and some anxiety in there. So how do parents get their children emotionally ready for this transition?
I think a big start is the parent has to get emotionally ready.
Good point.
Our kids feed off of our emotions, whether we think we're hiding them really well or not. So I think we as parents have to really work on ourselves and take care of ourselves in that transition, but also be there for our child. So at our household, one of the things we do is summer, you can get off your routine a little bit if you want to. Lily and Grace does not, but we encourage a little bit of different things. But those few weeks before school starts, we get back into that routine. Bedtime starts in again. She actually gets up at 6 every morning anyway to go to work, but she gets back on that routine. Yeah. We start getting back into, she has school projects that she has to do before school starts. So we really try to find that routine and
that reading list, that
Yes.
summer reading list.
Yes.
I highly recommend ordering those books before school is out
Yes, we
for
do.
the summer.
We do at our house. But then also for a lot of families, you can schedule a time to go to the school and meet with the school counselor or just explore the school. They're usually really wonderful about that. I've met several families over at the school, got their school schedule, and we literally walk through, this is where your classroom is, this is where the lunchroom is, things like that, so that their anxiety can go down.
That's really helpful, especially when they're in those big transition years like elementary to middle or middle to high school, when it's their first time in the building, just to go and physically walk the path they have to walk. I remember I used to color code, get a map, like the printed map of the school, and I would color code each class and draw my route out. And that way I didn't get confused. I knew what, and had a list of each color, what class it was and where I was going. So that does ease the
It does.
anxiety.
Lil's school built a new, beautiful facility. And even though she was already in high school last year, well, this current school year was her first year there.
In that building.
We set up a work day, a bunch of the parents and families did, and I made sure she went because my thinking was, this is a casual way for her to explore the school. Her friends are there. It's really fun. And she actually went home and she was like, I think I'm ready. And usually she gets a little anxious. So it was nice for her to feel secure going into it.
That's a really good point to help them get ready. And back to your other point about parents being emotionally ready, I think I remember those key points, like kindergarten is a big one, right? Your little bitty's about to go off all day away from you and away from their typical routine. And that's such a big step in being around older children and all of those things, that I think that one really does take a mom being emotionally ready and not losing it or not a basket case on the first day of school. And, you know, I had one big mom challenge when our last baby was born. And actually when that baby was still being carried inside the womb, the oldest one figured out that he would be 16 when that baby was going to kindergarten, and said, I'm going to drive him to his first day of kindergarten. And it took my breath away. I was like, what?
That's big.
And so I had to start getting ready for that day 5 years before, 5.5 almost years before, because, you know, that was a date. I wasn't going to interrupt that big brother privilege. And by golly, we have pictures of them. They were in a convertible. He driving off to kindergarten with his 16-year-old brother.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So those are key things. So making friends is also such a big deal for children to have friends. And if they're going to a new school, or maybe they're just changing, you know, like I said, seasons from one age to the next. But for some kids, how can parents support their children in building those social connections and getting those important friends around them? What are some things they can do?
I think an obvious one is get them involved in activities, whether through your church, through school, dance, athletics, all those good things. But then I think a key point is not to just take your kid, drop them off, but be an involved parent. Get to know the children that your child is interacting with. For me, I find it helps to foster friendships if I know who's in my daughter's class. And I just kind of watch at little events, and it helps me learn the dynamics. So then when there's an issue or she meets a new friend, I know who she's talking about.
Right.
So I'm a little more invested in that respect. We are also the house where the girls come. They come to our house. They hang out before dances. We try to make it a big fancy thing. We recently did a movie night where we all had rom-com t-shirts and sat around, and they invited me in to watch movies with them.
Yeah, that's fun.
Because I was just that mom. But it allows me to get to know them. So then when they're navigating stuff, I can help my daughter navigate it as well with them, and her to be a better friend.
And so with younger children and a working parent, how might they get connected, like to an elementary school age group of friends? How might they do that?
I think that's a lot of the dance, athletics, those things. You know, we've met parents and children when we're at those events, and you know, just encouraging and fostering those relationships, coaching your child. You get to know other kids.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
you can help encourage relationships.
Yeah,
and
that's
things.
really good. I also, another strategy I remember using, because, you know, sometimes we're all very busy parents, but remembering that when you go in or out of the school, not to be in a rush, like building enough time that you can go back to the classroom. Like, for example, if there was a performance or something and maybe the parents were coming back to the classroom, or maybe there was a little time to walk with another parent and talk to them or meet them, is take advantage of some of those moments. If it's just a meeting or something that's being called for the parents, you know, really using those moments rather than just being on a time mission of in and out, rather looking around and seeing who you can get to know in those moments.
Absolutely, because you also don't know, another parent might need a friend too.
That is a good point. There's lots of parents
and
that
we
need
can
friends.
model friendship for our kids just by how we treat the adults around them too.
That's a great point. I did love being the room mom. I liked doing that. Even when I worked, I found a way to try to do some of that. It was a lot of fun. So there are emotions for your child as they, you know, enter these different seasons, and emotions for mom. We hit on it a little bit here, talked about the mom emotions, but is there anything else, like when I think about that kindergarten transition or that very young, is there anything else that you would recommend to a mom to take care of their emotional health?
I really think trying to find balance. It's hard. We live busy lives. Balance, I think, is something we all struggle with at times, but then also work really hard at too. And I think it's finding a balance. As a mental health therapist, you have to, I would tell someone, you have to let yourself sit with those feelings. Don't ignore them. Don't brush them off.
Right.
But don't sit for too long.
So schedule your grieving.
Schedule your grieving. You know, I am an emotional mom who will still tear up on the first day of school.
Me too.
Because she's my baby, right? And so she even makes it a joke because she now knows that, like, she can see it in my eyes, and she's like, "Mom, it's okay," you know. But trying to just be excited. We have the music going, all that fun stuff, and then my time to have my moment is on the car ride home. And I call my mom and we process through, oh, Mom, do you believe she's at another year? Like, we have this many years left. And she reminds me, be intentional, enjoy this moment, you know? And so I think having other moms to talk to and process through what we're dealing with, but also just let ourselves have the time, work through it while they're at that first day of school, while they're in that transition. And then when they come home, it's game on and we just have fun. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I love the thought of scheduling time. So time ahead, you know, maybe to process and grieve. And I'll tell you, Heather, I'm on the other side. My oldest is 32, and he will probably not ever listen to this podcast, but I still feel the ups and downs of what he goes through. Right. I still feel emotional, or I have to, you know, share in the excitement with things going on in his life, or share in the sadness, share in the grieving. You know, it doesn't change as a mom. I think moms feel that way. Probably I don't have children older than 32, but I would imagine that's not going to change. Yeah, that's really good advice. So we're talking about moms managing their emotion. What do moms do if their children come home from school with big emotions and begin to face something hard? I can think of different places in my children's life. Like one had a very manipulative child in the classroom manipulating their behavior. Right. And that was a really odd situation to be in. Another time I remember just one of our children coming home, and they had always loved school, and all of a sudden saying things like, I don't want to go to school.
That's hard.
I don't like it, and they're sad, and they're so what do parents do when things like that happen?
From my perspective, I think you address it. We cannot be afraid of our kids' emotions, but we have to keep our own in check in those moments. My daughter will say, "Mom, you get really passionate. Sometimes you need to, dial it back." And so finding once again that balance, but listening to them. Don't be afraid to ask the questions of what happened. Tell me the details, but not in an interrogating way. I've learned with my daughter, she is that child who gets in the car and you don't say, "Hey, kiddo, how was your day?" You give her a few minutes and then she just starts going. And she will tell me all the things. Other kids, you might have to pull it out a little bit more. But
so give me an example of a question. Say you have a young elementary age child who you notice is struggling with something. What might be a way to ask that question? Or give me some examples of questions if I'm a mom wanting to know how do I face that?
Sometimes just, I've noticed you seem quieter, more sad lately. Is there anything going on that we need to talk about? And depending on their answer, has anything changed at school? You might need to do a little more probing. They might be afraid to tell you something because they don't want to get themselves in trouble or get a child in trouble or think they're being a tattletale. And so letting them know, reassuring them, it's okay to share your heart. Mom's not going to be mad. Mom's not going to lose it, but mom can help you figure out what to do, and you don't have to do this alone.
Good.
With my daughter, she is one of those don't get anyone in trouble. And so we have a pact that we've done, since she was in elementary school, and we still do it. When does mom need to get involved? And that's what I will ask her. When do I need to get involved? Here's some skills you can use to try to handle this. But I need you to let me know when it's time for mom to do something.
That is a great point, to equip them with skills to handle this situation. And are there like books or resources that how does a mom find those resources to use to build that emotional problem solving or friendship problem solving in their children?
There's a lot of great books out there. There's wonderful books about dinosaurs who experience all these different things. I love Howard B. Wigglebottom. He's it's an online bunny, and they're social stories. And he struggles with his friends and he struggles with his emotions. And they have songs that you can watch and stories that they tell. If you just search Howard B. Wigglebottom, there are tons of things. But I also think just finding trusted adults as a parent that you can talk to, not being afraid to ask for help. It's okay if you need just a family member. It's okay if you need therapists to help you.
I was going to say,
things.
when does a child need therapy? Like, what's a sign a cue that a parent should pursue maybe getting some mental health therapy for their child?
I think every child's different, right? So the sign might be different for every child, but if a parent feels that it feels bigger than them or they need a little help navigating it, I think that's a perfect time to get started.
Good thought.
Also, if you notice a huge dramatic change in your child, they go from being this happy, carefree child who loved school to now all of a sudden they hate school and don't want to go. If it continues for a little bit, you probably should get them in with someone. If they're not talking to you, we need to get them talking to somebody.
And how do you know a therapist is a right fit for your child? So that's a big step, right? You go pursue therapy, you get an appointment, but you've never met this person. Maybe you have a recommendation, but how do you know this person's connecting with your child? Like what would be a sign that a parent would know, oh, that's a right fit? Like, how do you know that?
I think there's the mom gut that sometimes just know a person is a good fit or a bad fit, but watching your child with a person, watching, do they seem to want to be with that person or do they not? It might take a few visits before a child gets comfortable to talk to somebody, but even just letting your child know, if you don't feel good with this person, we can try someone else. It's kind of like pants. Sometimes you have to try on a few pairs before you get the right fit. And it's the same with a therapist. Not everyone's going to bond with your child.
So a mom shouldn't throw in the towel on therapy if the first person you try isn't a great fit. And is it acceptable for a mom to be in the first session? Is that a typical thing? Yeah.
Absolutely. What we do is we try to gauge things on parent comfort, but also the child's comfort. Some parents are like, please take my child, go talk to them. This is their personal time. Other parents, they want to know how this is going. They want to be a comfort for their child. We will meet them wherever they're at and help them to find that space.
That's a great tip for parents. So if they do pursue mental health counseling, they really want that therapist or that practice to kind of go on their terms. So if they're a mom that really wants to be in that first session, it sounds like that's the best thing for that mom. And then if a mom is like, no, I don't want to, just take them. I think this will go better if you just take them, then that's okay too.
Yes.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean you don't have to negotiate times of, no, we need you in this session, or, could you give us a little time so we can bond more?
Right.
But it's truly in the beginning, where a family's at's where we need to be.
Now I'm going to bring up a really hard topic, and that's when there's trauma, trauma in a child's life. Because for a child, I personally can share this. I came from a divorced home. In fact, the separation happened even before I was born. So I was brought into the trauma of that. Even though I had parents that loved me and there was nothing major going on, I didn't have, abuse like many children experience. But sometimes there's real trauma where one parent or a family member or a boyfriend or someone has hurt the child, and now they're working through that. What advice do you have for a mom who's going through that? Maybe it's just a divorce. Maybe it is a trauma. Something happened to their child. What would you say to that mom?
I think a big piece of advice is they need to take care of themselves too. You can't take care of your child if you're struggling yourself. So they may need help separate from their child. It's easy for us sometimes to get so caught up and worried about our child that we forget that we're a person too, going through the same thing with similar or very different feelings. So I think taking care of themselves, but also being cautious not to push their feelings onto their child, because their child does have a different perspective of the situation. Especially in divorce, they might really still love the other parent and don't understand the anger, as they shouldn't, between the two parents.
Right. So and not projecting that anger and teaching the child to be angry at the other parent. That's great. I know we're talking about back to school, but when you're talking about emotional health with big transitions like back to school, things come up like trauma, like it stirs up emotion sometimes as the child is journeying and getting older, and transitions always stir that up, don't they?
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Heather, you shared a tip with me about how your child can take a little bit of you with them when they're feeling anxious to school. Tell me about that.
Yes, absolutely. So I was an anxious child, and I did not want to leave my mom. And there were tears, and she got a little frustrated. But her big thing was, how could she take a part of her with me? And so she loved, it was the 80s and 90s, so she loved lapel pins. And she would
I remember those.
Right? And she would find one that coordinated with my outfit so it wouldn't stand out too dramatically. And she'd either put it on my shirt, or she would put it on my backpack or on my jacket. And she would tell me throughout the day, if you start to get sad, if you start to miss me and you feel like you need me, you just look at it or you just touch it and you'll know I'm there. And
that's really sweet. So you could almost use any object like that.
Yes.
Sort of an object that you can put in their backpack or lunch or wherever. Right. That's so sweet. Yes. I love that idea.
So we even use that. My daughter and I do. I had a ring that she and my husband got it for me, and it had a cross on it. And I noticed when I would get stressed, I would just kind of gently rub the cross and just remind myself that I was in a safe space, that things were good. she went through some struggles a year ago and was feeling really anxious, wasn't sure how to keep her emotions in check. And it was just impressed upon me one morning, give her the ring. And so I handed it to her and she goes, what am I doing? That's your ring. And I said, I want you to wear it. And I want you to remember that I'm with you wherever you go and that God's with you too, and that you're protected and you're safe. And if you feel uncomfortable, just rub the cross. And she's still a year later has not given me the ring back.
Oh, that's good.
But I think it's a precious thing that she gets to take a piece of me with her wherever she goes. So I think that's for really parents, sweet. When their kids do miss them, because they do miss their parents during the day.
Especially littles.
Yes, to just have something to remind them that mom or dad is there for them.
That's very sweet. I love that. Hopefully you can try that little treasure too. Well, I really loved hearing all your helpful things for moms and helping their child become emotionally healthy. And it's all things that we moms can do. Like Absolutely. We can do it and you can do it. You can help your child through the challenges, and you can help them problem solve friendships and help them journey through these transitions of back to school. So thanks, Heather.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for listening to Help, I Have Kids. If you're tuning into this podcast, that means you're a mom who's curious, committed, and ready to learn. And we see you. We'd love for you to join our Help, I Have Kids Facebook community, where moms just like you are connecting, asking questions, and encouraging each other every day. It's a space for real conversations, expert insight, and support from moms who get it, because we're all in this together. And if you know a mom who's feeling unsure or maybe overwhelmed, or just needs to be reminded that she can do it, she can advocate for her child with confidence, share this episode with her. We're building a village here, and we're glad you're a part of it.